I guess. Excuse me. Goodness. It's okay, I brought a giant bottle of what is totally booze and is absolutely not sparkling Deer Park water. You can see it right here. This is actually a new flavor. Watermelon lime. I don't want to open it just yet, though, because I have a feeling I'm going to be talking a lot. So I'm going to go back to my fancy grapefruit cantaloupe LaCroix here. Wise eyes. They just want to plug some stuff into your brain, that's all. Oh, I should be taking notes. Tell you too, I'd rather eat my own tongue, if that's okay with you. We're not gonna talk for a couple minutes as usual. In fact, to be 100% honest, we may just be talking about one thing this week. I have 3 topics that I pulled up that aren't really news relevant. I mean, they've come up recently, but they're not really relevant to this week's news. And one thing that everyone's talking about for this week's news. And I'm going to talk about that first. The big controversial thing that I actually don't want to talk about at all. To be blunt. And depending on how long that goes, I may just save those other topics for a future Loreweek. Because Lord knows there is such a thing as a slow news day. And, you know, I could just save those topics for later. So, just as a heads up. Yeah, what do you think of the new background? I just bought this background today. I wanted to change. It's a little more expensive than the usual. By triple, actually. But I think it's kind of neat. What do you think of it? This stuff is moving in addition to the obvious globe over there. Oh, His Ice. Feel Good Bragwin, Taitu, Javan, Wraith. Dylan. 12 Maniac, what's up, dude? Tekoida, as ever. Zed, Spirit of Memory. Leander, I know you're there too. And feel good. So, yes, welcome to... And hello, Sean. Welcome to Doom. Yeah, I thought this was very newsy. I got a couple other ones. I actually purchased 3 new backgrounds today because it was literally a buy 2 get 1 free deal, and I was like, all right, fine. Spent forever trying to get a third one because I actually don't like most of the backgrounds this company produces. It's a different company than what I usually go to, and it was just this huge hassle rigmarole. Here, I'll show you the other ones. I mean, while we're just doing this, hang on, let me get rid of that. So another one I bought is this one, and I will probably you know, use this one for something in the future. I'm not sure yet. Yeah, pretty much. Zooming through space. Yeah, well, I don't make that kind of money, Leander. Another one I just grabbed. Where is it? This one we'll be using on Halloween. My fellow Americans. That one actually I got as a free bonus. That wasn't one of the 3 I purchased today. This is actually the 3rd one I purchased today. Honestly, I wasn't going to pick this one up, but then I realized it reminds me a lot of the PlayStation thing. The PlayStation intro thing. Although, this one ended up being my 3rd free one. I was like, eh, fine. I get a free one anyways, why not? Yeah, exactly. It's the Sony thing. It's the PlayStation thing. But, of course, we're doing news today. And, I mean, the whole reason I went to get it was to get a new news thing. Oh, actually, you know what? Hang on. I actually have a news song I could play. Give me just a second. find it. It's going to give me a moment. I don't know what it's called. No, it's got to be around here somewhere. There it is. This just in. YouTube is still terrible. You always gotta do that with the papers. I don't know why they do that. I think it's just a natural thing. And then, of course, we could do the earlier thing. Actually worked really well. Where is it? I'm done. I'm done. I never did that, Zed. I never got where everyone was like, you know, I was going to do that. I'm like, what are you doing that, guys? Why are you doing that? The only answer I ever got was, well, because everyone else does it. And I'm like, that's not it. Okay, whatever. FIFA 17? Guys, apparently FIFA 17's out. Just thought you should know. Turn this back down. Yeah, no, I get it, King Bubble. It's the exact same reasoning behind this. You just program in. And then you just do that forever. It's the same exact thing they're doing. Just different application. You know what? Here, you want my actual thoughts about FIFA since we're waiting here? Here's my actual thoughts about FIFA. From what I understand, it's actually a pretty good game series. I have a couple of friends who are interested, and I actually rather like football myself. Thing is, it's every time I hear it, I kind of get this mentality because of FIFA the company, which is horrible, and that's all I'm going to say about that. That would actually be funny, wouldn't it, Puffalogic? So, like, you know, I have an iPad, obviously, but, you know, you're like, all right, smack, smack, and then, like you break the iPad because they're still doing this thing. Anyways. So, let's just get into it, shall we? Let's just jump right into it. We'll start this at 8:00. Let's talk about YouTube heroes. I don't want to talk about YouTube. I'm just going to start saying that. I don't want to talk about this. Okay? I'm going to be kind of half lifting my usual no controversy rule for this. Because I literally can't talk about this. Because of the fact that it's impossible to talk about the YouTube heroes things without getting to controversial topics. So. I actually took notes for this one. For those of you not aware, YouTube is currently trying to push out a new idea called YouTube Heroes. This concept is so that it will be giving moderator powers to people who apply for them. And as you use those powers to flag videos for inappropriate content... In fact, hang on, where's my phone? There it is. Just a second. Pulled up a list here. There it is. So you can do things like report negative content, report things that are inaccurate, moderate content, and provide subtitles and transcripts for videos, stuff like that, right? So that's the kind of thing that YouTube Heroes is intended to be. How many of you out there have gone to school or worked at a job? Oh yeah, mass flagging. It's another wonderful aspect of that there. I want you to imagine something for a moment. I want you to imagine you're back at school, or at your job, or you're currently there. That's cool. I want you to imagine that anybody at your job or at your school could suddenly get the power to basically walk up and give you a demerit. You know, back when I actually went to school, there was a whole system of it was actually called demerits. And, you know, the demerits, if you built up, you would get, like, in your first demerit, you would just get a timeout. Your second demerit, you would get like, a detention. Your third demerit, you would get a bigger detention. Your fourth demerit, you would go into the principal. And your fifth demerit, you would be, I can't remember the term. You would basically be disallowed from coming to school for a bit. And then if you get further demerits after that, they would consider actually rewinding you a year. You know, that kind of a thing, right? I want you to imagine for just a moment that someone walks up and says, hey, I'm giving you a demerit. That anybody could apply for the power to do that back at school, okay? Suspended, thank you. I couldn't think of the term. Not expelled, that's a different thing. I want you to just picture that, okay? Because here's the really, really important part. It doesn't matter if 90%, 95%, 99% of the people at your school are cool people. People who would not abuse that power. I don't believe that, because that's unlikely. However, let's assume that for a moment. All you need is a few people who are running around. All you have to do is think of at least one person at your school who would abuse that power to understand the problem here. I use work as an example, too. I'm going to be using the work I used to work at, the data center. Now, I actually worked with a lot of really cool people, especially, you know, at the level I was with. You know, most of the actual network engineers were pretty awesome people. They may have had some, you know, elitism issues, Linux, excuse me. Nah, but that's all poking fun. I would actually trust most of my fellow coworkers in the field I worked at that company in order to be like, hey, you know, sure, you could go ahead and have that power. However, that's not how that works. It's not a small sample size. Again, picture everyone who worked at that company. All the people down in sales, all the people down in marketing, all the secretaries, because which we had the managers, all of them had the power to flag you and say, you know, we're docking your pay, for example. Think about it. All you have to do is picture at least one person you would not trust with that power to understand the inherent flaw in something like this. This segues nicely to my second point. Is this being moderated or not? And the funny thing is, both are a problem. Let's assume it's not being moderated. This is most likely because this is YouTube. No, I do not. Reximus, to be completely blunt. I don't have what I would consider a reasonable plan. I have plans that I don't have the money for, and that wouldn't work that well. So let's assume for a moment that it's not being moderated, okay? So if it's not being moderated, I shouldn't even have to explain why this is a bad thing, because this, to use my earlier example, let's say a couple of teachers get together, grab 50 random students and say, here, you can go give people demerits. Then let's assume they go about their business and never follow up on it again, ever. I really don't feel like I even need to explain why that's a bad thing. I feel that speaks for itself so obviously. Again, using the work example, let's say the owners of the company are like, hey, dude, here, you have this power to dock people's pay. And then they just walk away and don't even, you know, yeah. Here's the other interesting fact, though. What if it is moderated? This brings up a different problem. Because there's as Javan just pointed out, who's moderating the person who's moderating, blah, 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 blah. Let me actually rewind a bit before I talk about the moderating thing. Hi, Saldir. And hi, Tigzar. Because what this is this is a job. This YouTube Heroes thing, this is a job. Let's make that adamantly clear. What they are asking people to do is something that, now this is going to sound weird, should happen. There should be a group of people who go around and are a quality control group. But the thing is, they should run around being a quality control group. That's the kind of people you hired specifically for this exact group of people who are trained to do that, who are paid to do that, and who have oversight, or rather people have oversight on them. That's how quality control works. And Lord knows YouTube is in desperate need of quality control. Let's be honest about that, because they are. How many... I mean, it's ridiculous that I can have 32 seconds of an episode of Voyager, which gets an episode locked from all countries and unable to be viewed for one of my 40-minute ruminations, and that those 32 seconds means that whole video is just locked down. And at the same time, you can go and find entire episodes, entire movies, entire soundtracks available on YouTube, especially if you know what you're looking for. This is the broken nature of YouTube and the fact that they basically have taken their hands off the reins and just said, yeah, whatever. Go have fun. You see, you kind of already see my second complaint here. I've kind of hinted at it, but let me finish my first point. So, some kind of quality control is absolutely necessary, but the thing is, that is a job. That is a full-time job, I would go so far as to say. That needs to be a group of people who are motivated and who are being carefully watched, carefully managed, again, that oversight thing, and whose job is to go and sift through YouTube. They have ways of doing that are better than ours. I just like to point that out as well. And they should go through and say, okay, well, this is fine, but this needs to be flagged, and blah, blah, blah. Make sense? And, of course, if they have an issue, or if one of them steps over a line, they have people who have oversight on them, like their boss, or their boss's boss. And so there's checks, balances, there's ways to look at that, and it's the whole moderator thing in a nutshell. The original reason that term came into being, to moderate something. Basically being admins, actually, is a better terminology here. So that should happen. And yet YouTube, or Google, or whoever is actually the one making the decision on this one, I don't actually know, has decided not to hire people, or to hire them, we're not actually sure, but instead they want to make other people do this job for them, basically for free. I've looked at the benefits of leveling up your YouTube hero, and they're dumb. I'm just going to say that. The benefits of leveling up your YouTube hero are being able to do your job of a YouTube hero better and easier. And that's basically it. With a few other very small cosmetic things, at best. That's it. That's the benefit. If you do your job for us for free, we'll go ahead and, make it easier for you to do your job. We could do that initially, but no, you have to earn it. I'll get to that, Zawan. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. So, and this is the thing is, this is the kind of thing I could see. I've worked at 3 companies, 3 corporations, I should make my statement more clear, in my life. And all 3 corporations I could see making this exact same kind of decision. Because put yourself in the meeting room of the managers really quick. Just do it. Just close your eyes. Picture you're there. See you around, Javan. Picture you're there in the meeting room, and they're like, all right, we need to have some kind of quality control, but we don't really have the budget to hire people necessarily. Well, we do have the budget, but you know what we could do? We could actually have people show up and do it for free, and we'll get volunteers. Oh, that's a good idea. Then we wouldn't have to pay them, would I? Now, I've noticed that the managers are idiots thing is a very common concept, but I think this is just my theory on it. The biggest reason for that is because they don't think past the first layer. Most managers don't understand that many aspects of running a company are an expense. I would say most aspects. Let me put it to you this way. If you spend money on a contractor to do a work, that's an obvious first layer expense. That's money right out of your budget. What managers don't understand is that workable hours is also an expense. So a manager will look at this and say, well, I can hire a contractor for X amount of money. But that's going to come right out of my budget. So instead, I'm going to assign these 3 of my own personnel who are working on other things to work on this instead. And the manager thinks that's free. He thinks that he doesn't spend money on that. But that's not how budgeting works. That's not how accounting works. And that's not how economy works. Those 3 people and their time directly equates to money. Everything they're doing is money being pushed into this that has nothing to do with whatever their real job is. That's time that's not being spent over there. That's effort that's not being spent over there. That's money that is being pulled out of their budget. And so, and I've seen this happen personally. A manager will say, well, you 3 people go over here. No, Zoan. These 3 people go over here, and now he is actually spending more money than if he'd hired the contractor. On top of that, he's lowering morale because those people have day jobs that they need to be getting done, that the deadlines haven't been moved on those day jobs, and they're probably not going to do as good of a job as the contractor did because they're disgruntled and they're kind of busy. Okay? What does this have to do with YouTube Heroes? I could just picture this happening in the manager thing. Well, we could hire people, but that'll come straight out of our budget. You know, we'll be down for the quarter if we pull that out of our budget. Why don't we get other people to do it for free? Now, I want you to picture for a moment how much time and effort and money has been put into this to make YouTube Heroes a thing, to add the infrastructure, to sign up the people, to have, you know, be the ones. There has to be a person somewhere who's actually saying, yes, you're approved. That's billable time. That is money being spent, as I just tried to describe, in a literal way, but it's not obvious. It's not a first layer expense, so it might not show in the budget reports, if you follow where I'm going with this. Isn't it so easy to picture why they would then try to not do the proper thing and just hire professionals to do it? Because in their mind it's free, but it's not. They're spending money anyways in order to get people that are not I'm just going to say this, that are not qualified to do this job for them. Now let's talk about the moderation thing. Because again, maybe this is being moderated. So that means they have also, in addition to this, hired people whose entire job is to be an oversight committee, basically. Whose entire job is to moderate the moderators. To double check everything they do. Now, I am actually a big fan of redundancy. But the thing is, most people don't understand what the difference is between redundancy and red tape. Bureaucratic bullcrap. Because bureaucratic bullcrap is not redundancy. Redundancy is when you have a battery backup for your computer if the power goes up. That's redundancy. Having an extra layer of protection there. Not making sure that everyone is doing the exact same job basically twice or 3 times. This is bureaucratic red tape, not redundancy. So this is adding to the overall mess, making it take longer. And, you know, if there's a review process or if there's a peer process, you know, all this other stuff that could be done. And this is all assuming it's being moderated. To make my overall point here absolutely clear, if they are moderating this or not moderating this, both are bad. And there's no in between. This is a binary situation. It is either being moderated at all or it isn't. And both situations are bad. Think about that for a moment. Next point. One of the things on the video says you can flag inappropriate or censor, or not censor, that's not the word they use. You can shut down inappropriate videos. I want everyone in chat to do me a favor and define the word inappropriate. Actually, not the word. I don't want the definition out of the dictionary. I want you to define inappropriate. I'll wait. Yes, I know, right, Climus. I'm not even at that point yet. That's a whole other thing we'll get to in a minute. Although, despite what you guys are saying about the video being changed, if you pull up the sign up for YouTube Heroes thing right now, which I have right here, the very first bullet point is flagging inappropriate videos. First bullet point, regardless of the video. I haven't even started talking about the video yet. That's a whole other level of crap, which we'll get into. So, I think you guys get the point. The definition of inappropriate varies wildly. I once was young. I know it's weird. But when I was once young, I actually thought that there was a, like, even though people varied in opinion, I thought there was a pretty clear distinction of what some people would be inappropriate and what some people would be appropriate. I learned fairly quickly that as you're that what for one person is completely unacceptable, another person won't even notice it at being a wrong thing, and vice versa. You know, one person says, this is completely acceptable, to the point we're not even mentioning it. Another person says, this is disgusting that they did this. And the other person's like, what are you talking about? Because they didn't even notice it. Because it didn't even register for them. The variance in the word inappropriate from individual to individual is so huge that it's basically impossible to define. And yet you can flag a video for being inappropriate. If I could be blunt, Lord knows I bash the legal system enough, but this kind of concept, this technically, defines so many personal lawsuits of defamation or personal trauma, you know, people suing other people in the workplace or other individuals for the horrible emotional damage they suffered because someone said something that they considered inappropriate. And that's the only argument they have to give. Because they can just say, whether they mean it or not, that it's inappropriate to them. Oh, that's the second layer of the problem here. Not only is inappropriate basically impossible to define, you can lie about it. I could just decide randomly, you know what? I find any discussion of politics to be inappropriate on my channel, and start moderating it. Now, if you've paid attention, I don't actually do that. I mean, as much as I have that rule, I'm pretty flexible with that. As long as you don't cross over a line into yelling and screaming at each other in chat. I usually won't join in on the conversation, but you can go for it, you know? And you've seen this happen before. I don't exactly encourage it, because it's easy for that to get into a yelling fit, but what if I suddenly just decided, that's inappropriate? Flag, flag, flag. And the best part is, the very definition of political commentary or political discussion is so vague that I could flag people for basically any reason at that point. Someone could bring up the fact that, let me use a direct example. Actually, let me not use a direct example. Let me use a parallel to something that has happened. Let's say someone over here walks up and says, hey, this charity is, you know, a charity that I'm pushing. And someone else says, well, I dislike that charity. See you around, Noble Nerd. Someone else says, I find that charity unfortunate because political thing, political thing, political thing. Bam! Inappropriate. Flagged. Think about it. From something so incredibly innocent and irrelevant, that could be qualifying. Now to ban Roximus! So this is all really obvious stuff, isn't it? One of the other things here that you can do as a YouTube hero, and again, I'm staring at the page right now, is add captions and subtitles to videos. Okay, so you can do something that other people don't have time to, you know, to add, you know, voice acting. Or not voice acting, but text for people who can't read it or watch it on silent or whatever. I probably shouldn't even have to explain how that could be abused. Just imagine for a moment someone just writing things under there like, I think this, or I'm an idiot. Or even just changing a few words here and there to make it sound like even though they agree with A, they actually agree with B, and so forth and so on. Let me move on to my next point. Malachor mentions earlier that we are a little bit too. Thank you, Taitu. That everyone relies a little bit too much on YouTube. Here's an interesting factoid. This may threaten me in a very serious way, because I don't matter to YouTube. Now I know what you're thinking, well, of course you don't. Nobody matters to YouTube. That's not true. YouTube makes most of its money off of advert revenue, okay? I mean, they do a few other deals here and there. It's just, you know, they make the majority of their money by saying, here's X million views. What are you going to pay us for ads to run on that video, right? How many views do my videos get on average? I'll save you the time. I on average, get about 1,000 views within a month period, and then it tapers off significantly to the point of irrelevance. That's pathetic, to be blunt. That is so small as to not even register as 0.001% on YouTube's board. They don't make even the most minuscule. They make pennies. They make pennies off of me through advert revenue. Now, I know this. I actually understand how ads and revenue and economy and all that fun stuff works. So I pretty much leaped onto Patreon immediately. I was like, oh, yes, this. Because I will never make money through YouTube. I am simply not big enough. And to be blunt, I will probably never be big enough. I will never be large enough and have a large enough audience to be able to subsist off of ad revenue. So what I'm trying to say here is, what ability to defend myself do I have if people start to dick with me? If someone tries to go after me, all I can do is go through the automated process of YouTube. They don't give a damn about me because they don't benefit from me, do they? Larger YouTubers who have much larger viewer bases and who have actual networks and some actual political backing behind them can go to YouTube and say, hey, I've got a few people messing with them. And YouTube will likely deal with that because they are interested in keeping those millions of views. I am also not the only person who is so small as to be, let's use the word properly here, powerless when it comes to this kind of YouTube thing. So I'm not just speaking for myself or out of fear. There are plenty of people in the same boat as I am who would be screwed if someone decided to mess with them and they didn't actually work it out. Now, let's get into the more blatant ways this could be abused. Yes, I still got more to talk about. Actually, that's another thing. I didn't really want to talk about this, but Ruximus is absolutely correct. I still have my detractors, even on my tiny little channel. I mean, I talked about that just yesterday, or 2 days ago, excuse me. I talked about it recently, about how people are like, rah, you know, about how I still get the occasional commenter who tries to rip me to shreds. I have had people who've tried to ruin my life. How easy is it to imagine that someone decides to become a YouTube hero for the sole and express purpose of going after people they don't like? Again, going back to that school or work environment thing. How hard is it to imagine that one person out there has a grudge? Or maybe they just like hurting other people. Or maybe they're just childish. Or maybe they want to make their balls feel bigger. I don't know. There's a lot of different motivations for that. But let's go into something else here. Let's imagine for a moment that I'm a YouTube hero, okay? Let's imagine that I'm a Democrat. Sure, why not? I don't even know what their platform is anymore, and frankly, I don't care. So let's not actually get into it. Let's just imagine for a moment I'm a Democrat. And let's say Democrats are in favor of puppies. I know this is a weird analogy, but hear me out, okay? And let's say Republicans are into kitties. Okay? Kittens. I know this sounds like a ludicrous example, but I'm kind of doing this on purpose to avoid actually discussing real political issues, because I don't want to get into it, okay? So just use your frickin' imagination, okay? So I'm a Democrat, and I like puppies. So I go after, I go looking, and I see this one video where someone gives their opinion that kittens are just awesome and much better than puppies. I could flag that video now for inappropriate content. I could make up something to flag that. I could look at that and say, yep, flag. Think about it. Now, I just gave you a ridiculous example to make the point. Now imagine the hundreds of little things that go back between different political parties, not just here in the States, because we've only got really the five or so here in the States, but in other countries as well, and all of the different ways they disagree with each other, and try to picture all the thousands of ways that all the different political parties across the world of the people who are using YouTube disagree with each other, and then picture one of them flagging because they happen to disagree with a video that says something that is contrary to what they lean towards politically. And yeah, that is very true, Zoan. Yeah, some people have put forth the idea, not none of you guys that I've seen, but some people are like, hey, you need to level up to be able to really be a dick. Uh-huh. Because the concept of an internet troll is something that's new, right? Let's talk about one other thing. Let's talk about something, yeah, mass flagging is already something that I don't agree with, to be blunt. I think when you start doing a batch process to something that you automatically have a problem with the system. But I'm not going to get into that. So, let's talk about the fact that they edited the video. Hang on, I had this up. Oh, right, it's on my phone. So, here it is. In the original video, it said you could report negative content. Now, I'm not going to rip that sentence to shreds, even though I could. The very concept of negative content is something that is even less defined than inappropriate. However, the new slide says report inappropriate videos accurately, which I want you to pay very close attention to the structure of that sentence. You can report inappropriate videos accurately. I'm not even sure if I could really go even further into that, but for God's sakes, I'm just going to move on. Next change. One of the things you could level up to is to help moderate community content. It was changed, this is at 58 seconds, it was changed to say you could help moderate content in the YouTube Heroes community. That's the one I find most interesting of these changes. There's a couple other changes, but I only want to talk about these two. The first change, changing from negative content to you can report inappropriate content accurately, is dumb, because the whole point, there's almost no difference in what they're saying there. It's like, wait, everyone has a problem with the fact that you can report negative content. Well, let's change it. Now you can report negative conflict accurately. Because again, what's the difference between inappropriate and negative? Define it for me. I don't mean the dictionary. I mean every individual person's definition of what is negative and what is inappropriate. I have my own definition of negative, which disagrees with most people's definition of negative. My definition of negative is adds nothing. It's fully subtractive. I have had people come to me and say, I dislike what you did in this video. I dislike what you did in this, what you talked about this. I disagree with you on this. That's positive feedback. That's positive content to me because they're giving an actual reasoned response and giving actual feedback. They are adding to the situation. They are adding to the discussion, and I can think about it and move. Now, if someone comes to me and says, you're crap, that's actually negative because nothing's added to the situation. That's my definition of negative content. What's your definition of negative content? What's Jim Bob's definition? No offense to anyone named Bob or Jim. I mean, I could go full bore with this. What's Hitler's definition of negative content if he was alive right now? I know this sounds horrible. I hate to get into this, but think about it. What if Hitler became a YouTube hero? What if a severe anti-Semitic, you know they still exist, came out and became a YouTube hero? What if a stalwart anti-religion person became a YouTube hero? What if a stalwart Catholic became a YouTube hero? the second point here. This is something that I have to actually say that this is theory crafting. Most of what I've given you now is basically just facts. This right here, it's true, Sean. This right here, helping moderate community content, being changed to helping moderate content in YouTube Heroes community. I hope you pay very close attention to that, because what that means is, oh, we're expecting the higher level people to moderate the other YouTube heroes. I mentioned earlier the concept of oversight, the concept of who's moderating the moderators. Well, the people who bother to get leveled up moderate the other moderators. So obviously the best metric for someone who knows how to do their job is someone who has had the patience to get enough points to then be able to lord it over the other YouTube heroes. Do I even need to go into that? Do I even need to start with that? They are making my comment, any argument I could make, any statement I could make about how horrible this is being made for me by YouTube. They practically have actually come out and said, yeah, we like killing, puppies and kittens. And then they shoot a kitten on a camera. That's practically what YouTube is doing here. I know that's an extreme example, but they are making my points for me. But let's talk about the fact that the video is edited. I don't know how many of you do YouTube stuff, but let me make this clear. Let's say I make a mistake on a video. It's happened before. What I need to do is I need to go, change the video or edit it in some way, delete the existing video, upload a new video, and then reattach it to whatever playlist and in whatever order it needs to be, set it up with the right thing, get a new thumbnail going. Basically, I have to remove the pre-existing one and put up a new video. Okay? They can just edit a video, apparently. And I have to add apparently because this is actually news to me. This is brand new to my knowledge. I don't know how long they've had the ability to edit a video without doing anything. It's the same, it's all the same stats. They have changed, effectively they have changed nothing. There are people, and I want to stress this because they're filtering their own video, and they did it in a way that specifically hides it. Most people probably aren't even aware of the fact. Well, I shouldn't say that because people have been reporting it like crazy. I am just adding to the list of people reporting on this. But they have changed a video. Same likes, same dislikes, same URL, same everything. No new video showing up. Just all of a sudden there's a different video in place of the previous one, as if it was always there. Think about that. Now, from a purely technical standard, if I was thinking from like the perspective of the server, okay, that makes sense. I could see that being done. It would require a specific process. But again, to my knowledge, that's never been used before. That's never been done before. And yet, all of a sudden, they're doing it on a video that is this controversial and this interesting. And again, I've already showed you 2 of the edits they made to make it seem nicer, when in fact what they're doing is actually making it seem worse. If you actually think about it. I'm saying that wrong. Not making it seem worse, making it actually worse. Excuse me. Yeah, this is what they just did. 12 Maniac, thank you for the parallel. This is like editing a comment and removing the edited thing. The fact that they have that access to that tool, that makes sense to me. I get that. I would imagine some of the bigger YouTubers, who I am not, again, to be honest about it, but some of the bigger YouTubes should have access to that kind of a tool. However, the fact that they did this and basically tried to slide that under the rug, tried to make it look more PC, I think I'll use that term, that's shady as crap. That's trying to be like, oh, yeah, this was always this way. You can only stealth edit when you reach level 5. Alright. Let me grind on some obvious, videos that nobody's going to complain about for a bit. Okay, I'm level 5. Agenda mode engaged. Here's an aside, really quick. Hey, Necro. um, the reason I bring up the video thing, other than the fact that the news needs to be spread, I know this is a little alarmist. But what if at the highest levels of YouTube heroes, levels we probably don't even know about, YouTube heroes are given that power? The power to just edit videos without anybody knowing they edited them. And I'm not even necessarily talking about editing the video file like YouTube actually did. You know, what about the ability to change around things like the tags or the title or, you know, hell, the subtitles thing that we already talked about? Think about it. And nobody knows they made that change? How would I know if someone did that to one of my videos? I'll tell you exactly how I would know. One of my viewers would tell me in a comment, what the hey? And I'd be like, huh? And I'd go check my own video and say, oh, this is different. Yeah, what about deleting videos? What about deleting accounts? What if someone shows up? Yeah, exactly, Lurker. What if someone shows up and just says, oh, this is fact? Let me share a personal experience with you. I had a couple of people, a Indian company and a Chinese company, and they tried to claim that I was stealing their copyright, and they copyright flagged a couple of my videos and claimed all ad revenue from those videos, okay? Now, I would then go in and say, well, I contest this, because duh, it's a video of me talking like I'm doing right now, okay? Even the music that's playing right now in the background is actually a remix. There is no copyrighted material on your screen right now. Okay? But this is the kind of thing they would copyright, me just sitting in front of a camera talking. With no music, I might add. So I would contest it. And I won the contestation after 30 days. Here's how this worked. While it would, when I contest it, the person who put the copyright thing up first is then incumbent upon them to prove this is actually their copyrighted material. They have 30 days to do that. While those 30 days are happening, they still have the rights to my video, and all ad revenue on my video goes to them for 30 days. This is what they were doing on purpose. So they just take ad revenue for 30 days from somebody. This kind of thing happened a lot for a while there. It's kind of lowered a bit in recent days, but it's something that still happens. The reason I bring this up is because it was this big hassle on my part to contest this. It was this big old hassle I had to go through, find the exact video, put in a custom response, put this, yes, I agree, put this, blah, 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 and then wait 30 days. So let's say someone actually, yeah, that's literally the definition of theft. Let's say someone tries to do one of these YouTube hero things to me. Let's say I even have the ability to contest it. That's an assumption, by the way. I might not be able to fight back. I might be defenseless and powerless. But let's assume for a moment I can fight back. They don't have to do anything. They just hit a button and said, have fun. I get to go through the process and the paperwork and the however much time and effort it makes in order to go ahead and defend myself against this incorrect, inappropriate flagging. That's on me now. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Heroes don't need plans. That's true. So, yeah. That's actually basically all I've got to share about this topic. This is a mess. This is a gargantuan mess that is horrible. And the best part is, some people are probably going to say this is part of some big conspiracy. This is them pushing an agenda. I don't believe any of that. I already gave you my theory on exactly what happened, because I've seen it happen so many times in my real life working at corporations. A bunch of managers got together in a room and said, how can we cut costs? Oh, I know. Rather than hiring someone, why don't we get someone to do it for free? And then it was implemented. There's my theory on why this happened. Just some ignorant. I'm not even going to call them idiots necessarily. They're just flat out ignorant. Getting my own server, hosting my own videos is something I can absolutely do. It costs money. That's really all that boils down to. And right now, I need roommates to be able to afford things like rent. So, the end. There are mathematical limits. Although it is worth noting that I have been looking into the hosting my own videos thing extensively. For anybody curious, I have very much been looking into making that a reality and the logistics of what would be required for that. Congratulations, little Billy. Has anyone out there played, oh shoot. I can't think of the name of the game. It's a game that just came out. Hang on. That's it. We Happy Few. Anyone out there play We Happy Few? Or heard of it? Right at the very, very beginning of We Happy Few, the main character's job is to censor history. He puts in a newspaper and then changes it or blocks it out and then moves on, then brings it in, does it, next one. The thing is, that's obvious. That's blatant and apparent. That's blatant history changing. As so many people have already said in chat, imagine shadow history changing, where the fact that you don't even know a change has been made. Yeah, very Ministry of Truth. I don't speak Polish, though, Taitu. I'd be helpless. I'd go to try and get some food and be like, that. And that. And that. How much money is this? Oh, hang on. Hang on. Yes, there is it. I can't remember the name of it. It's one that was on my radar recently. I don't have anything else to say about this. I have enough stressing me out and giving me panic attacks in my life right now as is. But I had to talk about this week. There's no way I'm going to avoid something this big in the news. Although I have been asked by my dad even, do I think that this is going to get worse? And the answer is yes. I do think this is going to get worse. Because if you take a few dozen steps back, get way back here, okay? So you're way back here, you're looking at the whole situation. Watch every change that has been made to YouTube over the last 2 years. It's all the same arc. They're all doing the same thing. It's all in the same direction. I don't know how else to say this. This is what's happening now. This is just the next step. YouTube is going from A to Z. I hope some of you know what that means. And it will get worse. And then worse. And then worse. somewhere along the line, YouTube will screw up sufficiently. At some point, YouTube will screw up sufficiently to the point where a competitor who is actually competent, because YouTube has no competition. People can talk about all the other sites that are out there. No one actually competes with YouTube. Let's make that clear. At some point, someone will compete with YouTube. I would put 100% likelihood on that. And I mean actually compete. And then, upon so doing, we'll see what happens next. Because at that point, that's just a dice roll. Anyways, I'm going to pop off here. I don't know if I'm going to stream more. I'd kind of like to. I was thinking of Stardew Valley because, holy crap, I need something. I was going to play some more Dragon Quest 7, but we just hit Island 3, and that's a very depressing island. So, something. I don't know yet. I'll see you guys.